Teasel's Tudor Trivia!
Hi, Claire and Teasel here. Yes, that's us. Now, it's actually been a year since we've had Teasel, and I know many of you have enjoyed Teasel's Tudor Trivia videos, and many of you have been asking about Teasel and about why she wears a nappy or a diaper. So I thought I'd use this anniversary of us having Teasel, and it actually feels way more than a year. It feels like she's always been a member of our family. I thought I'd share with you today her story. Well, a year ago, we saw Teasel in the square of our village. Our son came to the front door coming home from school and said she actually followed him to the door. She could hear our dog sort of barking at him. And she sort of followed him home, and he said that there was this little dog, and he'd noticed her a few times in the square over the past few days, and that she was injured. And so we decided that we needed to kind of get involved and try and catch her. And the bar owner of the bar that's in the main square said that he thought she'd been dumped because she'd been in the square for 3 or 4 days and nights, had just been sleeping there, and he'd been feeding her. So we decided to go and catch her, which was great fun. She was very friendly, and she'd come over for a few seconds to kind of sniff at your hands, and then she'd kind of run off doing this kind of weird hopping thing and sort of dragging her back feet. But we managed to catch her in the end, sort of putting a towel over her. And we took her to a local vet. And we assumed that she'd been hit by a car after being dumped in the village, because she was just doing weird movements and also was constantly dripping urine. So we thought that that was the trauma. And also, she was just shivering the whole time. And we thought that she was sort of traumatized. So we took her to the vet. The vet that we first saw advised on her being euthanized, because she was just dripping urine the whole time. She was in what looked like a bad state. Who knew what injuries she had? And he was a very practical vet, and he was only thinking of the best thing for her. He thought she'd been injured. He didn't examine her properly. She just seemed very, very traumatized. So I took her home thinking that she was going to have to be euthanized the next day. And we gave her lots of love that night, and she did stop shaking, and she didn't seem to be in pain when I touched her sort of her back end or her legs. So I said to Tim that I wanted a second opinion and I wanted her examined properly. So the next day we drove sort of 40 minutes away to a vet that we had known sort of a few years ago with our other animals, and we knew that they'd got the facilities to do scans and x-rays and that. So we took her there, and we left her, I think, for a good couple of hours there for them to just sedate her and x-ray her. Yes. Are you getting bored with your own story? She is. It's more interesting cat chasing. And they did an x-ray of her to begin with, and they couldn't believe what they found. They said they'd never seen anything like it. And in fact, they still haven't seen anything like it. They've contacted vets all around the world. Teasel has got no vertebrae in her back end. Her vertebrae, they end where her pelvis starts. And she's got no spinal cord going down there either. So luckily, that's lucky in a way, because you wouldn't want the spinal cord not to be protected. So she's got no vertebrae in her back end and no spinal cord in your bottom end. That's right. So she's got a tiny stub of a tail, which hasn't got any bones in it. It's just a flap of skin. And one of her hips is fused kind of to the pelvis, which is why she's kind of twisted, and she can't move her back legs properly. However, she can feel her back legs, which is bizarre, but she can feel her back legs, and she can put weight on them. But she does a kind of skippy movement. She can run. She's amazing at running. She can run. She just sort of lifts her back legs, sort of skips them along, don't you, darling? Yes, you're going to sleep now. And she can also jump on the sofa. She does a running jump and then hauls herself up with her front legs. She's got really, really muscly shoulders and chest. And that's because in her short life, she's relied on her front legs doing all the work for her. Now, the vet, because we left her there, I think we left her there for a morning. And when we came back, the vet said, bad news. We can't do anything for her. It's a congenital birth defect. There's nothing that can be fixed. And she is going to be weeing and pooing. She can't. She's got no control. She can't even feel herself doing that. She doesn't notice herself doing it. But he went on to say that all of the vets, all of the nurses, all of the secretaries had completely fallen in love with Teasel, because while she hadn't been sort of sedated, she'd been running around the vets and just being lovely, friendly, happy. He said she was in no pain. She was a happy dog. She would have a good quality of life if we were prepared to do what was needed. And I knew already, just through seeing things online, that you could get nappies or diapers for dogs. I'd had people that I knew that had elderly dogs that had to do that. So I knew there were things that we could do to make our lives easier, really. I mean, Teasel doesn't care if she's dripping. And we have tiled floors anyway. So it wasn't a big deal if there were accidents anyway. So yes, we decided that we would keep her, which I'd completely fallen in love with her within hours of having her anyway. So there was no way I was having her put down. And so we've kept her. And then she ended up doing Teasel's Tudor trivia, because I think she was sitting on my knee one time when I was about to record. And we just thought, oh, it would be really sweet if we kind of used her in that way. And she's such a placid dog that she really doesn't mind sitting on my knee while we video her. Well, she's placid until a cat comes in. Two of our three cats she's not bothered with, but our male cat, Oreo, she just loves to chase, and she just wants to play with him, but he's not very impressed. Still, after a year, he's not impressed, is he, Teasel? I'm very sleepy. Yes. So Teasel has a very happy life. She wears diapers. That's fine. And her legs don't cause her any trouble at all. She can run and enjoy life. She absolutely adores being one of the pack in our house. So that's Teasel for you. So a year since we've had her, which means you're about 2 years old now, because when the vet first examined you, he thought you were a year old. So, yeah. Thank you for joining us. Take care. Bye-bye.
Teasel's Tudor Trivia.